You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm Stephen Cabral, and I'm looking forward to getting to part 2 of our weekend house calls. So yesterday we answered about 5 or 6 of our community questions on all things wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging. We had some really, really excellent ones. Highly recommend, if you didn't check those out, to go back and look at those. Everything from skin-based rashes or staph infections on the skin. We answered a lot about fatigue, cystic acne. We answered a lot about anxiety, so we talked about that as well. All sorts of different things. So what I would recommend is just simply going back to stephencabral.com/podcasts. You can always see all the previous back shows there today. And today's show actually is going to be too long, and the reason is that I'm going to be able to provide you with some of those backlinks as well to today's topics so that you can go back and get more information on one particular topic rather than me making any one host call a really long show. So we're going to get through as many of our community questions as possible each and every week, and I'll simply backlink to shows where I've done more in-depth talks on that particular topic. All right. So let's get started. The first question today comes in from Anonymous. Anonymous says, "Hello, doctor. About 18 months ago, I ate Taco Bell. I know, gross, but health wasn't a concern for me at the time. Less than 30 minutes later, I got sick with nausea, vomiting, and since then, my digestive system has not been the same. I had the worst heartburn I never knew existed for about 2 months. After just about daily, I was given omeprazole, but stopped taking it after 2 weeks because it made me really nauseous, so I turned to Rolaids, Tums, Pepto for a couple months, just about daily as well. Then I started with overwhelming anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and couldn't eat about 10 different foods. I started naturopath and did a gut clean protocol and was back on my feet after about 3.5 months. The question I have is one thing that keeps recurring is my gastroenteritis. 3 times in the past 8 months, I've gotten what I believe to be food poisoning. It usually starts less than an hour after I eat. I get painful upper abdominal cramps right under the rib cage. I start vomiting about 2 hours later. The vomiting never lasts longer than 20 hours or so. Is this a bad coincidence, or are there some questions I need to start asking? Now I eat a good diet of mostly whole organic foods, but will occasionally snack on junk food maybe once a week. My naturopath had ordered me a functional medicine stool test that looks for things that normal stool test doesn't, but I really want a second opinion." Okay. Anonymous, we can help you out with this. It sounds like a very, very high potential for you got an H. pylori bacterial infection. So when you ate at Taco Bell, you can get a H. pylori infection from dirty silverware, utensils, bad food, anything like that. And what H. pylori does is it basically burrows in, it lives in the stomach itself, and it can start to eat hydrogen, which means it can start to really overproduce, or basically your acid in your stomach is HCl, hydrogen and chloride. And so when it feeds off of hydrogen, that is going to start to make changes within the acid in your stomach. And so H. pylori, just like Candida would want more sugar, your H. pylori wants more stomach acid. And it seems to be more irritated when we eat high acid-based foods. So for example, right now, if you do have H. pylori, you won't want to consume things like coffee or caffeine, sugary processed foods, like fried foods in general, anything spicy or with a lot of spice or pepper, milk in general, because that will cause your stomach to produce more stomach acid as well. Alcohol really can exacerbate H. pylori as well as ulcers. Ibuprofen, Aleve, NSAIDs, those all irritate the stomach lining, and it's already being irritated by having an H. pylori infection, and cigarette smoking. So those are some to stay away from, but of course the real thing is, like, how do we get rid of this H. pylori infection if it is there? Now keep in mind, it's very difficult to detect by doing a stool test because by the time it moves from your stomach down 26 to 28 feet of intestinal tract, it can no longer be seen a lot of the time. An endoscopy can sometimes find it, sometimes not. Well, I'll just tell you what we do. So you can take antibiotics. We, of course, don't. I'm a naturopath, so I don't prescribe antibiotics. But the antibiotics that you would typically be prescribed would be something like amoxicillin or something stronger, such as tetracycline. Tetracycline is a very, very strong antibiotic, and obviously I can't recommend that. And then in the meantime, they'll typically put you on a proton pump inhibitor, a PPI, or some type of bismuth. Here's what we do. It works phenomenally well. It's very, very inexpensive, and it would cost you about 2 bottles of a product called Healthy Belly. Healthy Belly contains mastica gum, berberine, and bismuth, and those are all absolutely fantastic to help eradicate H. pylori-based infections. So, I mean, plain and simple, like that's what I would do in my practice, and that's what I do all the time. And I would also avoid these spicy foods that I just spoke about, the caffeine, the high processed foods, the alcohol especially. That's a really tough one. And I would stay on this protocol for about 6 to 8 weeks. At the same time, I would be increasing I would increase my fruits and vegetables, yes, but then also see if your body will tolerate things like garlic. It may not, but the garlic can be helpful as well. So that will get you on the right direction. And if you'd like your naturopath to run a test, I would have them run a test that can look for H. pylori. Just keep in mind the stool test that we offer on stephencabral.com/store. Again, you don't have to do it through us. You can ask your naturopath to do it as well. It's by Biohealth Lab, and that runs H. pylori. You have to do the 401H. You can't just run a 401, but if you run a 401H, the H stands for H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, and you'll be able to test for that. Hopefully that helps. I believe that will get you in the right direction. My only other thought process is that it could be a parasite that you got as well, but I really, just again, not speaking with you, my inclination is H. pylori, not a parasite. Okay, Taylor's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. For the past 4 years, I've noticed my eyes doing something interesting. My pupils alternate sizes. At random times, one will be significantly larger than the other, and they alternate all day long, on and off. Both seem to dilate fine as I've had them checked out with my yearly eye appointment. It is something that has concerned me, but I don't have headaches or any other symptoms I feel may correlate. Do you know anything about this? I would love to know any knowledge you may have surrounding the symptom. Thanks, Taylor. Okay, so you have read about this in the past, and I absolutely do know what you're talking about. This is something that we look at quite a bit during a functional medicine evaluation of a wellness client or patient. And it's something called, and again, I may get the pronunciation wrong, so I will spell it for you, but I believe it's called aniscoria. It's Iniscoria. And essentially, aniscoria is when anyone, again, this isn't always necessarily mean that there's something medically wrong with you, but it does affect about 20% of the population. But the difference is that the pupil, so we're talking about essentially the black part of the eye, not the iris, which would be the colored part. It's like 0.5 millimeters. So think about that. Think about how, if you don't know what 0.5 millimeters is, pull out a ruler. It's very, very insignificant. It's very, very small. If you're noticing a real difference, like you just said, we need to look at 2 things because this can be an actual issue. And so I want to make sure you take care of this now. So what are the issues that could be? Well, it could be a medication. Did you just start taking allergy medication? Did you take any asthma medication? Have you taken an inhaler? Do you take any migraine medications? Anything that can be a stimulant. So any stimulant messes with the nervous system. And the nervous system is typically what's controlling the pupil size. Okay, so you have to look at some type of neurological based disease or a medicine that may affect your neurology, your nervous system. So that's one thing. Very, very important that we look at this. Okay, the second thing is this. There can be some type of pressure on one of the eyes. So now again, if one, here's the thing, because again, I have studied this before. If one pupil is larger at one time and then they get smaller, and the other pupil gets larger another time, then it gets smaller, that's not this pressure thing. That's a neurological based issue, and that should absolutely be checked out. Now, if it's one that's consistently larger or smaller, there may be some type of ocular based pressure inside the eye that's damaging or really pushing on and causing pressure on the eye itself. So you want to check that out. Now, symptoms of all these things can be blurred vision. It can be real sensitivity to light if your pupils won't constrict, well, that's going to make you sensitive to light. I check for that all the time in my practice over Skype as well. If you have headaches, which you said you didn't, loss of vision, any nausea, any stiff neck, any type of eye pain, blurred vision, double vision, anything like that. So absolutely do have this checked out, but don't have it checked out by your regular eye doctor. I would go to a neurologist or I would take photos because it might not happen when you're at your neurologist and then show them. Now, again, if it's alternating sizes, the left one's larger at one point, then the right one's larger and the left one's smaller, that in my honest opinion, is a neurological based issue and should be checked out. Again, check the medications and then go from there. Okay. Hopefully that helps, and let us know. I'd love to hear back. Cece is asking, hi, Stephen. I wondered if you were familiar with, or better yet, have taken Shilajit. I was reading about the ancient ayurvedic herb to balance hormone levels and reduce fatigue, then realized it had a whole wealth of benefits due to its vitamins and minerals, but apparently there is a lot of low-grade imitations, and even genuine Shilajit can be contaminated with fillers. I purchased Jing Herbs from the supplier, so I found it here. Okay, so yes, I've actually spoken about this on the podcast, and it wasn't too long ago. So this is why I always tell people, tune back into previous podcasts. I'm telling you, obviously I'm biased, but I work with a lot of health practitioners, and probably a third of our listeners are health practitioners. And they honestly, the feedback I'm getting right away is I'm learning more from your show that's usable, actionable content that I've learned in my certifications and my schooling and whatever it might be. And I want to share with you, again, it's not my information. I'm sharing with you the knowledge of natural health. And so keep on tuning back. Your answer is actually on episode 485, stephencabral.com/485. And I even went back and did a little research for you. It's about 32 minutes into the show. So if you don't want to listen to the whole show, which I would, but if you don't want to listen to the whole show, it's a Cabral house call. Check it out. It's about 32 minutes in. And Shilajit is something I'm very familiar with. Obviously, I studied in India multiple times. I've studied all over India, the north, central India. I've studied in the south, in Kerala, Trivandrum. I studied in Kanyakumari. Beautiful. I love India. It will always have like a real special place inside myself, and I do plan on going back, hopefully soon. But when I was studying in the Himalayas, we actually got to see some resin up close and personal, or some Shilajit, and it's this gooey black resin. Really remarkable substance. Looks gross, smells gross, looks like tar, smells like tar. But what it is decayed plant matter. And again, I know that might not sound that appetizing, but it is loaded with minerals, loaded with fulvic acid. Literally, Shilajit stands for conqueror of mountains and destroyer of weakness. I will never forget that. One of the doctors I was studying with in the north, in the foothills of the Himalayas, and we were studying the herbs there, Dr. Moriari, great guy, amazing man, does a lot of good work up there, has a clinic, invited me into his home. One of my last days I was studying there, got to meet his family, got to have dinner with him, got to meet his child, his son, really amazing. But what we did was we went into the history of it. Shilajit was reserved basically for the elite. It was such really a rejuvenator. And so please tune back into episode 45. I talk a lot more about it, how when I get into my late 50s, 60s, or when I feel my body becoming more catabolic, it's one of those products I'll be using for anti-aging, but you can certainly use it now, and I have used it now. And then also on episode 45, I link up reputable brands to get as well. So you can check that out. Yes, you do have to get reputable brands, of course, always. Jing Herbs, though, is a great brand. So Jing Herbs is pretty good. They're a traditional Chinese medicine brand, I believe. So I don't think they use Shilajit as much, but of course, it's a popular herb, so people may be using that. Okay, up next is Anonymous. Dear Dr. Cabral, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the work that you and your team are doing. I can't thank you enough for the positive impact you've had on my life, which is carrying over to my family's life as well. My 16-year-old son now starts his day with your Purple Crush smoothie instead of a sugar-filled yogurt. Nice job. I'm really happy to hear that. That's fantastic. A little history regarding my question. I'm a 45-year-old female diagnosed with SIBO in May 2015. Then Candida in 2016. I recently completed your Candida protocol and I'm feeling better. However, I don't feel that I'm at my best health. I'm still showing various symptoms such as brain fog, low energy, tired for a majority of the day, low libido, difficulty relaxing my mind, some bloating and occasional foul-smelling gas after eating, and constantly stuffed up nose. Last year, I was diagnosed with bacterial vaginosis and now have it again. I typically eat very healthy. The Dr. Ball Detox is my typical way of eating. I exercise regularly with yoga, walking, a little bit of running, and strength training. I have a limited meditation practice. I've been overly stressed For about the past 6 months, though, I continue to add wellness practice to my routine. However, I'm feeling out of balance. Would like to hear what avenue you might suggest that I look into next to continue my healing journey. Thanks again for all you do. Love your podcast and refer to it often, as well as your Instagram. All right, excellent. So let's explain Anonymous's question. So SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and Candida is a yeast overgrowth in the intestines. And usually Candida overgrowth always comes along with SIBO, which is the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is often called IBS, mistakenly called IBS, just which means irritable bowel, when there's something much deeper, which is this gut dysbiosis. So here's the thing, Anonymous. I know you might not want to hear it. What happens is, and I'm glad that you were feeling so well after the Candida protocol, is when we are stressed oftentimes, we have a malfunctioning of what's called the ileocecal valve. So the ileocecal valve, so let me just give you a little bit of the anatomy. When food moves out of your stomach, it moves into the small intestine. I won't go through all the parts of the small intestine right now, but there are three main parts, with the last part being the ileum. So the last part of the small intestine, we'll say that's about 20 feet down or so, connects then to the large intestine. And so there's literally a valve there. It stays closed to allow food to only move and bacteria to only move from your small intestine to your large intestine. So it moves from the ileum to the cecum. That's called the ileocecal valve. Now, certain people, not everyone, but certain people, I call them the lucky people, what happens is their ileocecal valve does not stay closed when they are stressed. So when they are stressed, there can be an opening of that valve, which allows then colon-based bacteria to move back up into their small intestine, re-causing SIBO, or re-causing small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Why? Because the bifidobacterium, that type of bacteria basically that's in your large intestine that you see sometimes on probiotics, can move out of the large intestine where it should never move into the small intestine, which is more lactobacilli-based bacteria. So what we have now is a gut dysbiosis, a bacterial dysbiosis. So how do we do this? Well, that's why when people come to me in my practice, we're working on calming the central nervous system so it can then close that ileocecal valve. And people do ileocecal massage as well. So that's the lower right quadrant of your basically stomach and groin. That's where that valve is. For relaxation, lying on your back, massaging that area, calming your body. Some people very in tune, they can actually feel it close. Not a lot of people, but some people can. And that is essentially what we need to do. So we need to work on calming your body, calming your central nervous system. That's through lifestyle. That's also through, again, it might be something like like a calming adrenal-based product, like Adrenal Response Complete Care. It might be using magnesium. It might be some daily meditation. It might be walking your 10,000 steps, calming your body. And then you may have to revisit the Candida protocol. And I know that that's not something that you may want to think about right now, but it's one thing that you might have to think about. We'll put it that way. But the nice thing is you might just have to start with maybe just, let's say, the Florafilm, as well as the, let's say, Candida Clean. And then you'll take those upon waking and before bed, 2 caps of each. And then with breakfast, you could do the daily probiotic support. And then you'll have to stay on the daily probiotic support to keep that dysbiosis in check. Again, these are just suggestions. I can't make recommendations to you over a podcast, but that's just that'd be a quick recommendation without having to go through the entire 12-week protocol. So hopefully that helps. Okay, Tanya is back up. Or as I should say, Tanya is up last. She's our last question for the day. I'll be quick, she says. A couple food questions. Black garlic. Any health benefits? Tastes amazing. And is there an anti-acne diet? Do nut butters contribute to acne? I've already cut out dairy, eggs, gluten, and still have acne. I'm 35 years old using retin-a. Portion control. Are there easy ways to remember portion sizes like size of fist, finger, etc.? Nut cups or ounces, which are hard to visualize. Thank you. Okay, Tanya, this is very straightforward to answer, and I'm happy to help. So black garlic, believe it or not, black garlic is just simply regular garlic. It's been fermented or it's been cooked at a lower temperature for a longer time. Typically fermented, though. That's where the benefits are going to come from. So believe it or not, as the garlic ferments, it turns into a sweeter, less acidic, jelly-like substance. Literally, it turns black. And a lot of people love the flavor. It kind of like caught on, I think about like 10 years ago or so. So essentially, the big benefit to garlic is this thing called allicin. And allicin, when fermented, when it turns black, actually converts to a very powerful antioxidant called S-allylcysteine. And that in particular has twice the antioxidants. Like, it's a very powerful antioxidant and detoxifier. So yes, there's a lot of health benefits to black garlic, and you're welcome to try it out. It's not something you see every day, but black garlic can be absolutely fantastic to add. It can even be used as a spread. A lot of people use it as a spread on certain foods. So yeah, worth checking out if you would like. And the anti-acne diet, sure, there absolutely is an anti-acne diet. The anti-acne diet is fruits and vegetables. That's it. It's fruits and vegetables. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can't have some whole grains like oats if they don't affect you, or some rice if it doesn't affect you, some quinoa if it doesn't affect you. And can you have proteins and things like that? Yes. A lot of people get acne from eggs and from dairy, just like you talked about, because they're high food sensitivities. And also, you have to look at your gut, meaning like you could eat meat and get acne. And the reason necessarily isn't the meat per se, again, if you don't want to be vegan or vegetarian, but what happens is those proteins move through your stomach undigested because of not enough enzymes, because not of enough stomach acid. And those protein amino acid strands are longer, they move into your bloodstream. Your bloodstream essentially becomes polluted, that's a good way to say it, and that pollution gets pushed through your skin because your liver and kidneys can't detoxify all of those things as quickly. So what would I do in your position? I would have a predominantly vegetable-based diet, fruits as well, nice hydrating. So that's going to hydrate your blood. Your blood's 90% water, keep flushing things out. I would do the 21-day Dr. Ball detox. That's exactly what I would start with, literally, is the 21-day Dr. Ball detox. I would make your proteins with dinner fish. I would look at your gut health. You could do an organic acids test to see if you're high on candida and bacterial overgrowth. You could do a hormone test to see if you are estrogen dominant. Why would I check for that? Well, if your acne flares up about 5 days or so before you get your period, that's a very good sign that you're estrogen dominant. So you don't have hormone balance, too low of progesterone, which can be because of stress and other things like that as well. And the last thing you could do is look for potential parasites. If you have acne on your back as well and your forehead, potential for parasites. What would I do first? I would start with the 21-day Dr. Ball detox. It's the least expensive. It costs no more than a week's worth of food. So you're literally not paying anything that you normally wouldn't. It literally costs, I'm not trying to sell, but literally costs no money because it's the same as you would for food. It replaces all of your 2 days of food for one day and then all of your breakfast for the week and all of your mid-afternoon snacks. I would cut down on that, no processed food at all. I'd cut down on the caffeine. I'd cut out the alcohol, cut out the eggs, cut out the dairy. I would eat a very, very clean anti-inflammatory diet. How long? 3 weeks. That's it. Just do it for 3 weeks. If you get remarkable results in 3 weeks, like you start to see your skin clear, no oil, like no cooking in oil, none of that. You can add olive oil, but no cooking in oil. That causes acne as well. If you see a drastic reduction in 3 weeks, you know you're on the right path. You absolutely are. So if you know you're on the right path, keep doing it. It will motivate you. Keep going. And then you want to heal and seal that gut. So either the organic acids test, or what I would do is the Candida protocol after the 21-day Dr. Ball detox. I would do that. And then I would use the healthy gut support to seal up your gut wall. There you go. You just got the entire protocol right there in about 3 minutes. So hopefully that helps, Tanya. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral House Call. I really do appreciate your listens. I appreciate your shares. And if you're able to, I would really appreciate it if you're able to review the Cabral concept on iTunes. Really, it helps me spread this message, and I'm just doing my part as best as I can. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and tune back tomorrow for our Motivation and Mindset Monday.
Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.